Hello, everyone. So apologies for the slight delay. I was battling with some technical challenges. My name is Jason Creighton, work for Oracle, and my role is the product manager for all elements of coding. So code assist, code agent, and then SQL agent as well from our new agent platform. So today I'm going to talk about code assist, code agent. Please stop
time at the end for questions. I can't see the chat.
So don't feel rude if you want to jump in and just ask some questions as we go along. All right, let's get going. So, and by the way, my accent is Irish, just in case people are sort of wondering behind the scenes. So this is all information that people already know. By 2028, 90% of enterprise software engineers will use. I would say that currently that data is out of date. And this is from Gartner, but I would say that it's now, most developers are using code assistants. If your organization doesn't have a prescribed code assistant, then the probability is your developers are going externally and using coding assistants from, any right there.
And so the majority of AI coding assistants will be developing,
productivity growth. So again, something we all know that the coding assistants are actually generating productivity, and we've had a lot of successes internally in Oracle. So these are the developers can benefit from AI tools, and it's nothing that you would be surprised about. Generating code, debugging, documenting. Learning about code is especially important for junior developers. We're finding a lot of the sort of lower level junior developers are ramping up on code and actually learning code from the coding assistant. Obviously
testing, writing
unit tests. But then one of the things that we're finding a lot of use for is things like batch updates. So version updates, language updates. I want to upgrade a coding pattern from an older version to a later version. We're migrating between languages or versions of Java, etc. And so those sort of big updates, those custom updates, are some of the things that we're finding as a
request for. And then offline tasks.
So things like CI/CD inclusion for code reviews, for security audits. And really the flexibility for people to build offline tool chains for workflows, I think, is one of the key items that we are seeing there's a huge demand for. And this is really just saying the same thing, and given a stack,
learning technical tasks is more important than writing new code.
One of the things that we have found is that developers don't spend a lot of time. So depending on the seniority of the developer, but they spend maybe 30% of their time writing new code, and a lot of the time spent in maintenance, testing, security issues, etc. And this is from an internal survey. So we want to increase the red box. We want to make sure that the developers can spend more of their time. Coding assistants, for as much of the hype, aren't yet to the point where they can create large amounts of complex business logic. I think we've all played with it, and we know that it's great at boilerplate code or easy functions, but the sort of large complex code items are where it requires a significant set of information regarding the libraries that are used or the repository and dependencies that should be adhered to, or development patterns. It's just not at that point yet. But in that direction quickly. So I think whether it ever gets there,
philosophical debate, rather than we want to
give developers more time to write code, to spend the sort of detailed thought on architectural challenges and solution engineering. So to that end, we've spent a significant amount of effort building Oracle Code Assist. And it's designed to be an AI companion. It's designed to boost developer productivity, code consistency with reviews, and we've included it into our standardized review process internally. And we've optimized for a lot of the Oracle language sets, so Java, JavaScript, SweetScript, PL SQL, and then trained it on some OCI Java code bases so that it's as good as we can make it for. Obviously, one of the things that we are constantly working on is how do we make sure that the latest version of Java is included? And so I can talk a bit more of that later on. It's available internally. So we've got over 12,000 internal users, and that's growing very quickly. And then it's available externally as a beta. And we've got a number of large organizations signed up and testing, and we're getting excellent feedback. I'll talk about some of the success stories later. Any questions so far before I move on? Okay, yeah, I don't think any of this is new to anyone. So what I'm actually going to do is stop sharing and run a demo. So it worked earlier. Excellent. So everyone can see this. Okay. So this is IntelliJ, and this is the Oracle Code Assist plugin. And what we've tried to do is ensure that the plugin for IntelliJ, and there's another one for VS Code. I'm going to stick to IntelliJ for now, but it functions very much the same. And what we're trying to do is provide a level of information for the developers so that they can use some of the most common use cases. And we did a lot of research, and you can see some of the options here: generate code, generate documentation, explain the code, and then that's for unit tests rather, and then add the class to chat, and then you can integrate, or you can interface with it within the chat window. What we've also done, so I'll run some demos and then pray to the demo gods that it works. So I'm going to just take this and run some unit tests. And there we go. So what it's doing now is going through using the context from the file and adding unit tests for this piece of code. And again, I don't think there's any surprises there on what it'll do. I can also say, can you improve the code in any way? And I can interact with it in chat. What we've got is I'll go through the architecture in a second, but we've got, it says the snippet's too small to actually improve. So we've got a model, we've got a trained, fine-tuned model on the OCI Java code base, and this is for internal. We've then got moderation filters. So there's a moderation filter both on the prompt and the response. And then on the response, there are additional filters for open source code and for security. So if there's for instance, any obvious vulnerabilities in the code, it will identify the vulnerabilities and ensure that the developers will be aware that there are vulnerabilities in the code. If there's open source, it'll just block the response. And the reason is because we just don't want to, we don't want any of our customers accidentally having open source libraries added into their code bases. I've also got the option, so if I move to, say, a larger piece of, say, add this class to chat, and then again, can you improve it? Okay, so I'm gonna no,
okay, so it's not.
It's obviously too small a snippet to generate. So I'm gonna ask for it is a live demo. You know, generate a boilerplate code. I'm not able to generate code. Oh, hold on a second.
Okay.
So that's an example of where I was in a unit test chat, and I'm just going to close that chat down, and then I'm moving into this sort of base chat. So if I take this and say generate documentation for this piece of code, great. Let me restart the chat and do it again. Okay, I'm going to restart the IntelliJ. And this is more my setup than the developer setup. Because I'm not using it day in, day out. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. I'm gonna abandon this demo now. But you can sort of get a sense of the point of focus, the usage of the features, the sort of base use cases. I've also got some base use cases down below, and you can see that it's bringing some of it across. What I can then do is add files. So I can add context files. So if I've got some files that are associated with libraries that I want to continue using, or development patterns or dependencies, then I can add these into the prompt, and so that the plugin will then take those as context and pass those across to the model, and the model will start using those as additional context to be more precise to what the development repository or the development standards are. Okay.
Abandon this demo now.
I didn't sacrifice enough to the demo gods, and bring it back to the presentation. So here's a rough architecture of the code assistant.
And you can see on
the, I'll sort of roughly go through it. On the left-hand side, we've got the various sort of clients. So the Oracle Integration Cloud, these are some internal customers. AD is an internal customer. And we've got the VS Code and the plugin, and they're using an API integration via the agent platform. So this is the Gen AI agent platform within OCI. And within that, then there's obviously some elements of like tool config. That becomes more important as we talk about some of the custom tools that we can create. And there's some control mechanisms and content moderation within that. And finally, over to the code assist data plane. You can see we're using
further code checks.
and then to the OCI Gen AI platform for the code generation models. So it's a standard enough architecture. I think one of the differences is we've got the agent platform, and what that allows us to do is to then have potentially custom agents to do a specialized feature like code reviews, or if security reviews, or code version upgrades, or code migration.
Customer to do a migration
from COBOL to Java. That's a significant undertaking because of the different paradigms in development patterns. And so therefore we've built some additional custom tooling that goes into the agent platform. So then the code assist and the AI platforms remain the same, and we can do custom very quick iterations on the agent platform to iterate on these tool sets and give us those sort of custom workflows. So again, I'll just go through what Code Assist is and what it does. Really,
the Code Assist is a plugin.
There's models at the back end. So we use a Llama model at the back end. We are constantly going through, obviously, model reviews. We're looking at fine tuning, and so we don't. We'll reserve the right to adapt that model and really to improve accuracy and latency are the two key items. And then we want to make sure we've got a polyglot, but that is sort of a specialist on the Oracle tool set, the Oracle language set. So Java, SweetScript for NetSuite, and PL SQL. We're working to at the minute is how do we sort of start chaining them together, so you can build a Python script or a PL SQL function that then calls out to SQL, that then calls to a database, returns it, validates it, does some further updates, and you can build all of this without understanding the models at the back end, all within the agent platform, the Gen AI agent platform. So then talking about sort of Code Agent. Code Agent is an API integration predominantly. Also does, it allows you to tune hyperparameters, and then allows for prompt management. So the one of the things that we're thinking about as well is a model change. So I can select a specific agent tool. There'll be a pre-configured set, but then people can configure their own. And that will enable different features, select different prompts, and
ensure that you've got, for instance, if you're trying to do
a version or a language upgrade, the best model, for instance, the best prompt to do a Java 12 to Java 18 migration. If that's your desire, or
design patterns around
code modernization. As I said before, we've integrated this into the CI/CD pipeline for internal in Oracle. And that means that we've got code reviews happening in an automated manner. And it frees up senior developers to input, first of all, so they can improve the prompts and improve the code reviews, but then frees them up from running the code reviews all the time.
I think there's still a human element
from a code review perspective, but what it does is it catches some of the easy issues that junior developers would have on a day-to-day basis, and it means that junior developers are creating more coherent and higher quality code that then goes to a senior developer, and so there's a training mechanism on this as well. And then with the Code Agent, we've got sort of custom third-party developer integration, and that what that means is we can allow for additional, if you want to say run it into your own development environment, or you want to integrate into your own tool chain, then having this sort of custom integration means that allow
any type of integration. Any type of integration, and it frees up. We've got about 35 separate teams internally all integrating into this now.
And there's use cases that we can't think of that they're constantly going through. Hopefully I can hear people because it is very quiet. Okay, I'll keep on. Okay, perfect, thanks. I thought maybe I was talking to the void there. So one of the, obviously one of the core items is privacy and security. So we do not store any of your code, your customer's code, your user data, any comments, what your original code was, what the prompt was that was created from the code or from your associated files, any of the user data that you're storing. We don't store the responses either. There is a feedback button, which is just a thumbs up, thumbs down. We can also choose to not store that. And really, this is the sort of adherence of a lot of the Oracle security policies and data policies. As the next line goes, any data that is sent to the models never leaves OCI and is not, and obviously is encrypted in transit. Yeah, we're very cautious about the any feedback we take or any code. We're not storing it. And what this means is you can be confident that your IP isn't leaving your building. As I said earlier, if your developers are using an external system like GitHub Copilot, unless you've got the right level of purchase, GitHub is, the Copilot is taking your code and using it to further train and enhance the model. And we're not doing that. So it's one of the things that we're thinking about doing at a future stage. If, for instance, a very large customer would like to integrate and they want to create their own custom pipelines and their own custom models, maybe there's a discussion around collecting feedback specific for that customer. And for we're actually using a one of the data stores that's used for, and we're taking a shard of it and we've used for health data. So we're adhering to sort of HIPAA standard data encryption for internal, and it's one of the options that we're thinking about. And as I said there, we're not using any custom code for model fine-tuning. So one of the things that we are,
where we see the future is this sort of enhanced scripting and leveraging sort of robust
open source repositories and scripting language like JRuby and Groovy, and some of the external orchestrations around JD Edwards. And I think that the tool, the code assist, because of the nature of having additional files and then contextual repository aware information that we can add to a knowledge base upon your decision. We can then start adding some complex orchestrations. We can start thinking about, okay, what is the XML templating for some JDE custom agents, the creation and integration of custom scripts. So really, we want the flexibility of code agent, code assist to be really whatever your DevOps team, your development managers can think about. We are moving to a world of sort of multi-tools. So you can create a tool that has a RAG pipeline. It calls out to database.
It'll extract information based on natural language query using a SQL tool.
It'll then create a report and use the information in the SQL return to then create a report, code the report, deploy the report to your environments or deploy the orchestration. And because of the nature of the ownership of the full pipeline and the fact that we get the database better than any other teams, it means that we can really start to allow for this type of custom agent, custom pipeline. And I think this is the sort of future of orchestration. And the word agentic is overused, but this type of multi-tool orchestration is somewhere I think that the industry will be going very quickly. And I think that you're seeing it as well in some of the additional features that some of the competition are. Like, how do we build this type of repository information and then really make sure that our DevOps procedures are sort of utilizing as much of the coding agent workflow as possible. So I'm going very quickly. I don't have many more slides, you'll be pleased to hear. So from our success,
short than I thought. I did test it earlier, honestly.
So we have about 12,000 active users. We have, we did run a control across sort of what's the impact of using it versus not using it for a new, like a hackathon. And we find that from some standard requests that were put in, like a standard set of questions, the team that were using it got about a 55.8% speed bump. From a cold
start for some development problems.
So we've got alpha testers and beta testers, and the acceptance rate is up to 35%, and it'll build a unit test as good as a human, which you would like to think it would. But really, one of the things is it's saving sort of 10 to 15% of effort and boosting sort of unit testing code coverage. These are the things that we think there are the real benefit. And even if it saves 5 to 6 hours a week, and we're seeing slightly more than that from a developer's standpoint, this is a significant cost improvement, and it means that your team can scale without adding resources potentially. But I think that all teams
either are or will be working in this manner, and having a cohesive single tool that all teams use is up to date on your repository
is actually one of the main benefits. So there is an AI stack. I just want to briefly touch on where it sits. You can see Code Assist sort of sitting. I don't know if you can't see my mouse. Within the sort of third across at the top of the AI services. And it's part of the Gen AI agents, and therefore the coding agent sits within the agent, but the Code Assist plugin is a separate product. There's a lot of other applications there, and what we really want is to start connecting them in seamless ways, so that you can think about an Oracle database using SQL over the Code Assist, building these sort of pipelines and knowledge bases to really enhance the sort of the overall offering and optimize full workflows. So I put a link to a demo. So you can
at your own time, you can have a look at it, like a
5 or 6 minute demo. And obviously it's available at the minute fully internally. It's the beta externally. We are targeting GAs later this year. It's not available yet. There's some features that we're working to add, which I'll talk about in a second. But really,
these features are available.
This demo showcase it.
I skipped past it. There was a demo slide there. So where are we at the minute? So we're the V1 release. We're starting to roll out across regions to make sure the coding assistant and coding agent are available in multiple regions. These are the features that we'd like to add before GA. And we've got SQL, so SweetScript is available. PL SQL is in final stages of accuracy assessment and benchmarking. And then customer context. So if you're, this is where we would make sure that you've got either dedicated capacity or that you're signing up to ensure that there's a very specific knowledge base that's built on your repository, your documentation, coding standards, library, security patterns, design patterns, and then the knowledge base, the retrieval from the knowledge base then, because it's code and there's a lot of different document types, is complex. So we're trying to work through that at the minute and ensure that accuracy is high. It's a very challenging
problem space, and one that
really a lot of competitors aren't doing a good job on. And that means that we can then ensure that you've got the most relevant responses based on your repository. One of the challenges, I think, for everyone is, making sure that you're giving the model the right high quality responses or high quality code, and just
the model like that in our creating knowledge base with
your repository isn't enough. We've found from our own reviews of the internal knowledge bases that from a initial library set of over 1 million files, when you start to remove duplicates and remove depreciated branches of your repository, or even remove files that have never been put into a build, remove older versions, and remove any code files that have a comment in it like do not use or deprecated or draft or anything, that you start to find that the actual code base is maybe a third of what you initially thought. And so therefore that type of curation of your repository as we're building these repositories, but ultimately it's the way you want the model to be providing responses that are completely in context for your repository. And the more in context, the more you can push down the value chain of building larger, more business relevant code. And I think that's one of the key things we see for overall model improvement, and it's the #1 request we've had from internal customers. So there's also elements of plugin context. So you saw that we can add files, or for specific responses, you can then start thinking about customizing. And what that means is you can take for instance, you've got an old version of a code base and an updated version, and you're doing a version migration. And it might not be an actual version of code. It could be a
pattern migration. So you want the plugin to understand the latest code, but then also
at that point in time understand the context of where you're operating within the repository tree. So if you're operating in an older branch, it should adhere to some of the dependencies and libraries within the older branch. And therefore that's a hard balance, because a lot of developers are working in multiple languages and multiple code branches, and they don't spend all their day working, for instance, on Java within a most up-to-date branch.
You sort of bounce around quite a bit. And the challenge
from our perspective is to make sure you've got context, the model understands context, and it's got the languages are relevant as people move and start coding in different languages as well. Then we've got custom agents. I think I've talked a lot about some of the custom agents and some of the benefits that that's going to bring. And finally, potentially, and we'd like to reserve this right. And I think because you're building, everyone thinks about fine-tuning a model, that I want to fine-tune a model based on my code base, and maybe, but there's probably
knowledge bases and RAGs and retrieval and sort of semantic modeling
of a code base with a document library and the dependency tree. And so we want to solve as many problems as possible in the cheapest way. And really building a custom model is not cheap for anyone. It could be up to 6 weeks to 2 to 3 months to build the model, run the iterations, improve your benchmarking, improve the input data, and it takes a specific skill set in that process. So
although it's on the roadmap and we want to do it, we want to try and make sure
the tooling is as simple as possible so that we take away the pain of trying to build a model and abstract as much as possible away so that we allow this for external teams. Okay, so I've left actually I'm pretty much on time. I obviously spoke too much. Any questions? I've left about sort of 10 minutes for questions. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right, Jason, I'm back on. Yes, folks that are connected, very good content there, Jason. Excellent context. Glad you touched upon the JD Edwards components. I know that must be top of mind for the folks that are on the call right now. So that's great to hear. Any questions, folks, that you would have for Jason that maybe he could address? So maybe we'll just give you guys a few minutes and see if some people.
There's a question there from
Susan.
Any plans to incorporate the JD Edwards tool set? So I think JD Edwards and the sort of tool sets comes into where you start building a repository that's really relevant for your
the work that you're doing. So directly in the model, I think probably
not, but I think that there's the ability to create the JD Edwards tool sets with the code agent and the custom repositories. And I think that's the real key. Orchestration enables custom Java. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great one, AJ, right? In terms of that certainly is the possibility, even if the JD Edwards traditional kind of legacy tool, right, for creating apps and whatnot are not in the immediate scope, but the scripting capabilities and certain for orchestrator, as well as you touched upon briefly, Jason. I don't know if AJ, you were on at that point in time regarding the actual XML potential as you guys start expanding that into that area, Jason.
Yeah, and I think AJ, you've actually hit upon a really important point. Training it is expensive. Documenting the rules and creating a knowledge base based on the rules is relatively cheap. Relatively, you still need to create the documents, but then very quickly iterate on a set of documents, update the knowledge base, run some trial queries, determine what the accuracy of the output is. I think one of the key elements that we tell customers is build your benchmarks test set and do that right at the start. And then try it before you even start doing any training or doing any sort of custom scripting, because out of the box, it's probably got a 30 to 40% accuracy, and then that's something to build up.
I'll give you an example of our suite script training. So out of the box,
our model delivered at 0% accuracy, and then after I think 4 iterations, we were up above 95%, and that was a combination of multiple strategies. Exactly, AJ. Exactly. Where people have got customizations. So you've got, in fact, maybe there's a base set of the customizations that you want to train a model on, and then allow customers to augment that. with some of the things that they've done that are specific. And then you've got a really powerful custom model that provides information to customers based on not only the base, but then any augmented ones. So it can read the
you know, I would help you document. Yes, well, maybe if you
want, you can give me a sample of the code, and I can. I don't know what the communication, the post-session communication is, but I would put money on the fact that it could. It'll read the code and document it.
Yes, we can certainly coordinate that effort. Jason, and by the way, AJ, just so you know, is a colleague of yours. He's part of the Oracle GD Edwards team. So maybe we could, I won't sign AJ up. I know he's got his own things, but certainly you got my commitment. And if AJ can join the fray, that would be awesome. But I will definitely connect with you on that, and we can give you snippets of what we have in our lab environment.
Okay. Yeah, AJ, look.
Yeah, the customizations and whatnot, that's a big thing. Documenting, that's one thing sometimes that we hear from our customers is a customization was built. It was built by a gentleman or a lady that used to be here 10 years ago. We don't know what they were doing. And documenting would be a good first step.
Yeah. And I think, as I said very early on, ramp up for the sort of poorly documented, poorly unit tested code bases. We have one customer internally, one team that are building a pipeline that takes their code, updates unit testing to above 90%, updates all the coding documentation, does code reviews on it, security reviews, and then provides it ready to check in. It still requires a developer to check it, in case there's any issues. But it means that you can then quickly go through and bring your code without changing sort of versions of code. You just bring it up to a standard, more supportable in the future.
Absolutely. So we're still in charge, right? As humans, we're still in charge. Even with AI, right? We're still in charge. We still need to review. We still need to assess. But the idea, right, is that it does provide efficiencies.
Yeah, and no one wants to open up a piece of code that no one's touched in 10 years, add unit test, add documentation, then do a code review, then check it in. Like that's a low. There's no value add to the organization. And so you want to remove the lower value tasks and allow developers to focus on the higher value tasks, like writing new business logic or writing new customizations. Okay, so apologies for the demo not working as well as it should have. It honestly worked about 20 minutes before the session, so
Murphy's Law.
Okay.
No, this was great, Jason. Thank you for sticking with it and for the presentation. I think that was it was valuable for sure. It and certainly the directions you guys are heading in also kind of adds the possibility of some other use cases. So we're looking forward to that. And separately, we will follow up on a couple of things that I think we discussed here. So I'll reach out to you there. And looks like maybe we don't have any more questions. So thanks everyone for participating, everyone that joined today's session. Hopefully you found it valuable. Keep on the lookout, as Jason said, right? Oracle continues to invest in this area. And, as they go live externally, right, there'll probably be some more goodies and more capabilities there. So this is just the beginning, folks. So thanks again for joining today.